we're finishing up a 500-yard rabbit drag. I made it really difficult. I put a lot of twists and turns, even some very tight turns in it. He did get off it a couple of times. I had to call him back. Good boy! Had to call him back and restart him a little. Regrip, that's okay. Good boy, Keelys! So he's not retrieving it very far, but that's all right. Good boy. Tripped on his leash. Good boy. Drop. Atta boy. What a good dog. But he navigated most of the turns pretty well. The wind's blowing really hard today. And here, buddy, here. Good boy. What a good dog. Just making it all positive for him. But I mean, we went up a hill and around a bunch of cedars and down a fence line, and I put, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 turns in it, thereabout, give or take. Good boy, Keelys. I even bounced it a couple of times to put a little gap in the track. I really wanted to challenge him because he's been doing really well on his tracks. Kind of tripped him up a little bit, but you know, his tendency is to go really fast. So I actually kind of started him with the choke chain and a leash just to kind of get him to focus a little more, and he did slow down. And then he actually ran the rest of the track at a very decent speed after that. Good boy, Keelys. What a good boy. Good boy. Good dog, Keelys. You're such a good boy. But then, that's a good boy. Here at the end, the wind has really picked up, and I don't know. I'm just speculating, but I think there's wild rabbits that live in this brush pile. Good boy. That's a good boy, Keelys. Here, you're tired. I know, you've been working hard. We did some serious water drills right before this. He's pretty tuckered. But anyway, twice he kind of turned to the right behind this brush pile and off that way. But the wind was kind of blowing pretty strong, and the rabbit was over here, so you know, it could be the scent was blowing. But again, I think there were some wild rabbits that, you know, live in here. I, you know, see them pretty regularly. So, you know, I don't know what tripped them up exactly. It could be that I made, actually it may have been 9 or 10 turns, because I made a couple of really tight turns right here. So that may have also tripped him up. But like I said, I did this on purpose to challenge him, just to, you know, it makes him focus. It makes him work a little harder. And I have learned that these drags can get very boring for the dogs. They get monotonous. So, you know, it stimulates the dog, makes them, you know, a little more excited. You know, they got to work a little harder. Good boy. But anyway, so, you know, I'll probably do a shorter track, you know, maybe next week. I don't want to do too many. But maybe next week I'll do a much shorter one with a bunch of tight twists and turns in it, just to kind of watch him and you know, help him get the concept a little bit. I wanted him to make a 500-yard retrieve, but that just didn't happen today. But we'll work up to that again later. Today was just kind of a day of challenging him. Before this, we did water work. I worked on making a ton of scent all over one side of the water. And then I took a boat across and I put a bunch of scent over there and hid the duck kind of behind a tree in the water. And he really worked for it. He crossed back and forth several times looking for it. And this is what tripped him up the other day. But, you know, I kind of just eased him into it again. Just went through, did that same drill on narrower water. Today I went kind of to the midway point, so it was a lot wider. But it just shows that, you know, you challenge your dog, you find their weaknesses, and then you go back and teach them that task in a simpler scenario. You know, they learn that task in a scenario where it's easy for them to learn it and master it, they feel successful, you know, they're excited, and then they remember that concept. You make it a little bit harder, carry that concept over, then you make it a little harder, carry that concept over. So, you know, today after we mastered the water beautifully, I you know, did this drag with, like I said, a ton of tight turns in it. The wind's really been blowing, and he did get tripped up a little bit, but you know, but this reveals to me some things that I can work with him on, and then it you know, gives me something to work up to again. So, you know, like I said, next week we'll go back, we'll do it again, but on a much shorter drag, you know, 50, 100 yards maybe, and then, you know, just a bunch of tight turns in it. And then once he has that down, I'll probably wait a couple of weeks and then do it again a whole lot longer with not as many tight turns. And then once, you know, see how he does. If he does it well, then I'll wait a couple weeks, do another one, you know, another 400 or 500 yards. But that time I'll put a whole lot of tight turns in it. And this way you train them to get a whole lot better than they need to be. And then when you're at the test, you know, they should be slow and methodical. And they should be able to navigate the 1 or 2 slight turns in the test without a problem. And you also want to train with somebody on the other end of it if you can, or whenever you can, at least some of the time, and then have, you know, a couple of strangers standing next to you as well for the retrieve, just to simulate judges. And really, that simulates a hunting scenario. You know, you've got other people in the field, the dog needs to stay on task. So, you know, a test is really a simulated hunting scenario. You're just there with your hunting buddies, and you know, and the dog needs to you know, stay focused and trust you even with strangers around. Sometimes that'll throw them off their game. So we master the concepts, and then we start adding, you know, more variables to trip them up. And hopefully by test time, everything will come together. Good boy, Keelys. You're a good dog.